In other global news, Israel has announced that it will negotiate table for a hostage for ceasefire deal with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, ordering a delegation to be dispatched for the talks due on Thursday. Well, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant welcomed the decision, acknowledging that there's a limited window of opportunity for the release of hostages. He said, and I'm quoting, "Even if there are disagreements, the entire security system backs you up in the task of reaching an agreement." The decision was made after Netanyahu's in-depth talks with his negotiating team and senior security officials moments ahead of his flight to Washington, D.C. Well, the Ben Gurion airport saw demonstrations against Netanyahu's six-day visit. The demonstrators urged him not to travel unless a deal is signed with Hamas to facilitate the return of the hostages. As per a survey conducted by Midgam Research, 70% of Israelis think that Netanyahu is not doing enough to get the hostages out. While in the U.S., Netanyahu will meet U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris before he addresses the joint session of the U.S. Congress on July 24th. Activists opposing Israel's war in Gaza and U.S.'s support for its Middle Eastern ally, they planned demonstrations at the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday, and they're expecting a large number of demonstrators. Police are making additional security arrangements as well. For months now, Washington has seen demonstrations from pro-Palestinian groups and college students over U.S. support for Israel amid the war in Gaza. A coalition of groups are expected to participate in these demonstrations. Women-led peace and human rights group Code Pink, Palestinian American Community Center and Jewish Voice for Peace are few of the groups participating in these demonstrations. Israeli strikes in Gaza in the past 24 hours killed at least 64 and wounded more than 100 others, according to a Hamas-run Gaza government media office. The situation also remains tensed along the Lebanon-Israel border. 3 Hezbollah members have been killed in Israeli airstrikes on several areas in southern Lebanon. Moreover, Israel carried out airstrikes on the Houthi-controlled Red Sea port of Hodeidah in Yemen. This was in retaliation to the drone attack carried out by the group in Tel Aviv a day earlier. Well, Gallant called it a message to the Houthi movement. He said, and I'm quoting, "The fire that is currently burning in Hodeidah is seen across the Middle East, and the significance and the importance is clear." Iran has criticized Israel's attacks on Yemen, warning that such an aggression risks exacerbating the already dire situation in the region. And for more on this, we're now being joined by correspondent Jody Cohen. She's joining us live from Ra'anana. Welcome to the show, Jody. Now, Netanyahu has taken off for Washington, D.C. Talk to us about how Biden's announcement of not contesting for the White House race in 2024, how will that impact or perhaps affect Netanyahu's visit to Washington, D.C.?
Hi, Rahisha. So following the protests at the airport calling for a hostage truce deal, Netanyahu has left for Washington. He's pushed back his departure by a day. It was thought to be because of President Biden's COVID, but it's now also likely to be connected to Biden's announcement that he won't stand for re-election. Now, the meeting is expected to go ahead between Biden and Netanyahu on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Netanyahu is scheduled to give a historic fourth address to Congress, and the families of some of the 120 hostages are accompanying Netanyahu on his visit, as well as some of the freed hostages. Now, Netanyahu is reportedly hoping for a meeting with former President Donald Trump, but that hasn't yet been confirmed. Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with the vice president and the potential Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris. Now, before taking off, Netanyahu said that at a time when Israel is fighting on 7 different fronts and the political uncertainty in the U.S., that he would seek to anchor the bipartisan support that he said is so important for Israel.
Right, Jody also talked to us about with Kamala Harris as the potential Democratic contestant, what Harris's election as the president of U.S. means for Israel amid the ongoing war with the Hamas militants.
Right, so of course, if she gets the Democratic nomination, if she becomes president, we could see a change in policy. Harris has largely echoed Biden's views on the war. She's received endorsements from the Jewish Democratic Council of America because of her support for Israel, which she said is ironclad, and also because of her campaigning against anti-Semitism. And last month, Harris hosted an event which highlighted Hamas's sexual abuse of hostages, and on the 7th of October. But Harris is considered to be to the left of Biden. She's the only senior member of the administration's foreign policy team not to have traveled to Israel since the 7th of October. She's also taken a more sympathetic tone on the Palestinians, and in recent months, she's been a tougher critic of Israel than President Biden. In his meeting with Harris, Netanyahu would want to thank the administration for their support during the war. He's also likely to want to discuss the freezing of large arms to Israel. And also on the agenda is expected to be the hostage truce deal, governance in post-war Gaza, and the recent escalation between Iranian proxies, Hezbollah and the Houthis, and Israel.
Right, Jory, thank you so much for joining us on the show with your insights.